Hey everybody, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. I want to talk a little bit about industrial head protection this week. I know I've talked about hard hats and helmets in the past, at least once over the last 5 years, but this is an issue that keeps coming up, and there's a lot of confusion around which hard hat or helmet do I need to wear. And what's driving this is a lot of controlling contractors on jobs are coming up with requirements that are different than what we're accustomed to in the past. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to share screen real quick, and I'm going to kind of cover these different types, and then I'm going to demonstrate examples for you. So here we go. So basically, hard hats are broken into two types, type 1 and type 2. A type 1 hard hat is designed for an impact from the top. A type 2 is designed to take an impact pretty much from the sides, the back, the top, etc. And then there are three different classes: general, electrically rated, and conductive. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those. They're on the screen now. You could take a screenshot, or you could send me a message and I'll send you this slide so that you have it for future use. So I'll stop sharing. That way I can kind of demonstrate the hard hats a little bit. So when we look at a type 1 hard hat, I think this is what we would consider the norm in the industry for as long as we've known, which is just a regular old hard hat, right? This is an MSA V-Guard cap style, meaning it just has the brim on the front. It's not a full brim. And this particular hard hat has a 4-point suspension with a ratchet on it. And you'll notice that there's no liner. This is basically a plastic shell hard hat that's designed specifically for an impact that might hit the top of it. Maybe somebody drops a nail, a piece of wood. It's designed to deflect something coming from above. Now, I've seen examples where like a large connecting bolt was dropped by an iron worker, and some of those things are multiple 2-3 pounds, and they hit, and I've seen hard hats cracked, and I've seen injuries from people when something falls, multiple stories onto the top of their head. So here's an example of a helmet style. And when we see this, a lot of times we think, oh, that's a type 2. In this particular case, this is also a type 1 helmet, which, as you notice, there's no liner in it. So this helmet, the difference between the helmet and the hard hat is the helmet has a chin strap on it to keep the hard hat or the helmet on if you lean over, if that way it doesn't fall off. And this is designed again for an impact to the top, only to the top. So the difference in a type 2 hard hat or helmet is that they have a liner. You can see a foam liner on the inside underneath the suspension, between the suspension and the shell of the helmet itself. And these are not necessarily new. They've been around for, I want to say, at least 30 years, but they've become commonplace now for a variety of reasons. Number one, these are rated again for much more impact. If you look at it, the inside of the suspension, it looks much more like an athletic helmet, and that there's a lot more protection. Nowhere near what you get out of a football helmet or something like that, but much more substantial than what we get in a type 1 hard hat. So that is the difference between type 1 and type 2. And again, they both come in hard hat style with different types of suspensions, or in a helmet style with a chin strap. Now, the other thing to think about is that, generally speaking, all of these shells, they start out as just G, general, meaning they're not electrically rated. Now, there's a situation where you have a C rated, which is conductive, and conductive means electrically conductive. And generally that means it's an aluminum shell helmet or hard hat. We see those pretty commonly in the forestry industry, people who are falling trees, who are logging. And that's about the only place that I've seen them in the last 25 years, other than every now and then, you might see an iron worker who's still wearing one if they're allowed to be on site. But type C are pretty uncommon. It's generally going to be G, which is general, meaning non-electrical, or an E-class rated, which means it's electrically rated. Now, if you look at this particular shell, you could see on this MSA helmet what looks like it could have been vented. And they do make this version in a general rating, which has vents that can be opened to allow the heat out. If you have vents on the helmet or on the hard hat and it's a type 2, it is not electrically rated. It would be a generally rated. So that would be a type 2 class G. This is a type 2 class E. This is what we're seeing contractors requiring, especially in data center work. They want something that's electrically rated and type 2 for front, side, back, and top impact. So really important to keep that in mind. We're seeing more and more requirement for that, and people are buying something like this thinking that they're in compliance, but they're not. This is a type 1 class E particularly. So it's really important to understand these. And again, I'm happy to kind of send out the slide if you need it. Another thing to kind of recommend is that you review the manufacturer requirements. So the first thing is most manufacturers require that the suspension be replaced in these annually, and many require that the shell itself, the whole entire helmet or hard hat, be replaced every 5 years. The reason for that, UV degradation. The sun actually breaks down the plastic, it becomes brittle, it'll crack, and they want it replaced. Another thing that they're going to tell you, and again, follow their instructions. You can print them from MSA or Bullard or whomever you get your helmets and hard hats from, but clean them with a mild soapy water from time to time. Again, replace the suspensions every year. You can replace the little sweat pads in them more often than not if you want. And then the other big issue that can become real contentious is stickers. I mean, I've actually seen people do very ornate paint jobs to custom paint their helmets. The manufacturers say, don't do this. Now, I know that it's very rare to walk out on a construction site and see a hard hat or helmet without stickers on it. The reason they don't want stickers on them is you cannot inspect it properly. If there's a crack or damage, you can't see it because of the sticker. I don't know if we want to pick that battle or not, but ultimately, if you look at manufacturers' recommendations, they generally say do not use stickers. So hopefully that helps sort it out. Type 1, Type 2, Class C, Class G, and Class E. Generally speaking, Type 2, Class E is what we're seeing requirements for now. And I think over the coming years, you're going to see more and more of those and much less of the Type 1 Class Gs we've seen historically in the workplace. Hopefully that helps. We'll see you next Wednesday.